It's 7:06, and I will kick this off by doing a roll call, and then I'll turn it over to our chair. Good evening, everyone. This is Catherine Kramer, Town Planner for Farmington. And beginning the roll, Miles Brown, I don't see in attendance or in attendees. Dean Burho is not in attending. Tim Eagles.
Here.
Jack Kemper.
Here.
Bob Sanford.
Here.
Peter Van Beckham. Not with us yet this evening. Sheldon Crosby.
Here.
Tim LaBouthier.
I'm here.
And Dave Quisenberry.
I'm here.
Great, thanks, guys.
We ready to roll?
We're ready, Tim.
Looks like first up, we have National Sign Corp. Sign application for property located at 782 Farmington Ave. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. My name is, can I go ahead and start or?
Sure.
All right, my name is Bob Daniels and National Sign Corporation is my subcontractor. I'm with Philadelphia Sign Company and we're a national sign company based out of Palmyra, New Jersey. And we do all the Chase exterior and interior signage in the Northeast from the Boston and Connecticut all the way down to Florida. And I'm here today, appreciate the opportunity, and we're here to see if we can get an additional approval on a freestanding sign. And it's shown in the picture there. And in looking at where this property is located in the surrounding area, you know, we didn't try to waste your time and come before you with a painted metal routed out internally illuminated sign, which is pretty typical that Chase likes to do. This is actually a sandblasted carved sign with a couple ground mounted floodlighting from the bottom up. So it is not illuminated internally and it is not metal, you know, or any type of plastic or anything like that. And it's sitting on a brick base that the bricks would be the same bricks that would be used on the building, so that the base would match the brick on the actual branch itself. That's one item that we're trying to bring before you today to see if we can get that approved. And there's a couple other things. I don't know if we want to just talk this out.
Excuse me, could you tell me what is the gray background material that, you know, kind of looks like weathered wood that the letters are on? What is that then?
Well, it's a carved piece of wood. So they like route out.
Okay.
They route out that gray part. That background is actually routed out, and the blue stripe on the bottom, and the letters themselves are raised out of that carved background. And that light gray color is kind of the Chase color that they use. It's called a nickel gray, and that's their standard color that they use on their signage.
So is that the gray? Is that a painted surface or is that?
Yeah, this is all painted, yes, sir, because it's carved wood, so it's painted.
Okay.
So you said you're looking for approval. All we can do tonight is give what our committee does. We're design review, so we're not the ultimate authorization. You're not up in front of zoning for that. But we'll do the commenting, you know, in terms of aesthetics, and if we think it's suitable and all that assorted fun, and then our recommendation will go to the zoning board, and then they take it from there. TPZ.
Yeah, so, I do understand that, and I apologize. I don't.
Oh, that's all right.
You're not giving me the final approval tonight. We're just presenting for your input and comments. Yes, sir.
Bob, I have a question on the drawing we're looking at now. It doesn't actually represent the drawing that's you just showed us previously.
Nah, I don't know if she put that in. I think my permit
This one I
expediter.
like. This
Yeah,
one I
that's-
like. The one below, I think, is a little more problematic.
Well, I think she put it in there just to show you that that's the typical illuminated chase sign that they do at, most of their locations. So she wanted to give you some comparison that, it's not a metal routed out sign. It's the one above there, the wood, non-illuminated wood sign.
Yeah, well, the brick I think is important, particularly because we have it on the building, and secondly, because it won't last more than one winter.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any other questions on this particular sign before we move on to a couple others?
No, I think this location,
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a site plan, I think, I think go back another page. No, one more.
This is the only site plan we received and it doesn't annotate where EO1 is.
Yeah,
EO2.
it's basically, if you see, I'm having a hard time. I think that's EO2 and E14 on the bottom. Yes. It's
Not to
kind of in
interrupt,
between-
but page
It's in
5.
between it's in between those
Awesome.
two arrows there, turned perpendicular to Farmington Avenue.
I think I saw
Sorry, so-
something in the package showing it.
Go on the next page. There you go.
Okay, yeah, right there. Yeah, if you blow that up, yep. Yeah, there was a certain amount of setback that was required, and we're showing it set back from the property line, but it would be on the Farmington Avenue side, the front of the building.
isn't there a bunch of trees out there or something on that corner originally in the planning plan?
I do not know that, to be honest with you, sir. There may be. I mean, but that's the reason we're asking for a monument sign, kind of low profile, versus a pylon sign, which really wouldn't be appropriate in this particular area, I think, and in the surrounding area that it's in.
This is Hernan from TBG Architecture. We actually do have landscaping around there, but if the monument sign does get approved through the channels, we can always rework the landscaping. But originally, we didn't have the renderings with the signage because we knew that it could get.
Tim, I don't think we want to see a monument sign out there, do we? I think this sign makes a lot more sense. And Herman, does it work with your building?
Yeah, we'll use the same that the building's made out of. I think that the wood is similar to, not similar, but I think it goes well with the clapboard that we have on the right-hand side of the building.
Yeah, I didn't mean monument sign, I meant pylon sign. That's something that I don't think it would make sense, but this makes a lot more sense. It's low and you can landscape around it. I think it fits your building pretty well.
So Sheldon, I didn't understand your comment.
Tim, I think I misunderstood. I thought I heard the word pylon sign, which would be normally included in this type of installation. I thought that would be over the top, whereas I think this monument sign that's low to the ground, although still visible from vehicular traffic, makes a lot more sense and works better with the building.
Yeah,
That whole location.
I did mention pylon, but only saying that I thought it would be inappropriate to try to come before you and get a pylon sign here because it's just not conducive to the area. Nobody else has a pylon sign, and it just really wouldn't work here.
Yeah, okay, well, great. Thanks, Bob. I must have misunderstood. I apologize.
Okay. All right.
But I have a question because we had to scroll down to this site plan to see where this sign was going. But when we were looking at the site plan up above that had the red tags on it, it looked like there was signage further to this, closer to the street than this particular sign? What was that? Remember
That may be,
EO2, EO1, EO?
okay,
Like, what is what is-
EO2 is a set of letters that are on the building, the non-illuminated letters.
Yeah,
And E14, I think, is a directional sign, which,
oh no, it's just coming
It's the
soon.
coming soon.
oh, okay, coming soon. Yeah, we're gonna, that's a temporary
Okay,
coming soon sign that'll be removed. You know, it's not part of the permanent thing.
got it. Yep,
Yes,
thank you.
sir.
Well, while we're here, can you just go around and tell us, because we can't read scale wise, or at least I can't on my laptop, read what all the other,
Well,
so EO2's letters on the building,
yeah.
which
EO4,
I think was in Hernan's original renderings.
yeah. EO4 is a handicap parking sign,
Yep,
a van accessible plaque on it.
yep,
EO5 is a directional sign, which we're going to show you. That's on down in the package. EO6 and EO7 are on the canopy to the drive-up ATM building in the back. And EO6 is an illuminated ATM box with a triangle, a green triangle, and that's in the package we'll show you on down. EO7 is a flat, non-illuminated clearance panel that says clearance 10'6". EO8 is an EO9 or standard DOT 30-inch by 30-inch do not enter to keep people from pulling in there.
okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else have anything on the pylon sign, questions, comments?
Monument.
Monument, excuse me. Oh geez, I gotta screw that up. Monument sign.
I'll scroll on to the directionals.
Catherine, we can presume you guys have checked out square footages and all that sort of fun?
Yes, and that will be part of the review at TPZ.
All right, we just have one directional here, EO5, as you saw it. It's basically off of the, what is that, Backage Road? What's that, the other road there? Or Backage Road, yeah. Just to let people know to, you know, to turn in for customer parking and the drive-up ATM. That's the entrance there. And the last sign that we were, well, I mean, there's a DOT sign, but the other sign here is an illuminated ATM box with a illuminated green triangle. And that's the only part that lights up. The gray is opaque and the blue is opaque. And that's a lane indicator to let people know that that's the lane you pull into for the ATM. So that, you know, it is illuminated, but it's not really facing a street or a road or a residential or anything like that. It's kind of inside their parking lot if you want to go back to the site plan. But, and then the other one is the non-illuminated clearance panel that gets mounted up there, obviously for liability for Chase, you know, to keep people from pulling in and hitting the canopy.
They don't work.
No, it happens all the time.
Can you just go back up to the handicap
Yes.
sign? Are you guys using just for, are you using a new, oh yeah, you do have it. I thought I
Yeah,
saw
they
the
got
old
it.
one.
Yeah,
So
with
just so you don't get screwed up, because in Connecticut, we got to use that guy now.
yeah, the leaning forward handicap guy. So yeah, we've made that change a while back in Connecticut. It's similar to
good.
New York.
I just didn't want you to print the other ones and then end up having to change it later.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
So,
And so that's, you know, that illuminated ATM box would go, you know, right there on that canopy there.
so Tim, I think most of the signage that has been presented is in the back of the property. And it's mostly directional to make sure the ATM and drive-through are well served, and which I think makes a lot of sense. The only one we really need to worry about are the ones up near Farmington Avenue. I think the sign package is reasonably complete, and it's relatively thoughtful and tasteful in how it's presented to us and obviously to the customers later on.
Do we have a picture of the EO2?
I don't think so, because that was already permitted. You know, it was already approved and permitted.
So
These
it's
are the-
as we originally saw.
Yeah, these signs are the ones that we had, you know, we needed to go back and get additional approval, you know.
Okay. As long as it's what we saw. My only comment on the, I was gonna call it a pylon again, the
Monument.
monument, thank you. I don't know, it's evidently it's past my bedtime already, but I find it odd that you got the blue stripe and the texture on two sides, but it doesn't wrap around the three-dimensional thing. I think I personally would like to see the blue stripe go around the four sides, and hopefully the texture is the same on all four sides of the gray. Other than that, I'm good with the shape, the form. I think it all looks good.
Okay,
But Tim,
well,
if you do that, then you should pull that gray in 3/4 of an inch to allow the band to sit proud of the
Of
gray.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would make
And,
sense. That would look better. It's in the same plane as the brick.
we can certainly do that. I don't, DP or TPG, are you still on? Hammond?
We
I don't
can
know if you,
do that. It makes,
yeah, I don't think Chase would have a problem with that, do you?
no, I don't think so neither.
Okay. Yeah, we could certainly wrap that around there and make it a continuous blue all the way around on all four sides.
And then cut that gray back a little bit,
Cut it back, meaning, what do you mean?
meaning the gray would be in the same plane as the brick below so that you have a reveal with the blue band. The blue band and the gray shouldn't be in the same plane As-
Okay,
around.
okay,
Just like you've got it on the side, on the faces, the blue
Right.
is proud of the gray, the same thing on the end as well.
okay, I see
Yeah.
what you're saying. Yes, sir. So we would cut it down on the left and right a little bit, so it stays inside the perimeter of the brick.
Right.
Okay,
It's an
All right,
inch and a
that's no
half or
problem.
something.
we can make that change.
Yeah, I really like that suggestion. And again, you're going to see this thing in 3 dimensions in real life. And that way the gray is a single mass sitting on top of the blue base.
Right.
In 3D, it'll look so much better that way.
All right. Any other questions or concerns or comments?
The only
Do we need to
question I
vote
had,
or anything?
hey, Sheldon, I had one quick question. Just on the overall thickness of the sign part piece. I know there it says TBD, but in the other drawing it showed a width. It just seems to me like you'd want the sign part narrower than the brick wall, more so than it is.
Yeah, we probably should thin that down since these are sandblasted wood panels. There'll actually be 2 single-face signs that are mounted back to back. So I do think that rendering is probably not really reflective of, I think it will be a little thinner from the side view than what's showing there now. But there's kind of a disconnect. The engineers will actually place the order to have this done in our shop. And the people that draw this up in graphics, they're not engineers, so they don't, that's why they put 2BD, because they don't know all the final details.
I think if you go down though, there was a drawing that showed a width.
Yeah, but I think if
That
you
was
go
the
back to
internally
that,
illuminated.
yeah, that's not really,
Okay.
that's not really
Right.
representative, yeah, what it's gonna look like, yeah.
Got
But
it. Okay.
To that end, I mean, one of the things I like about it is it's boxy. I mean, if the thing was 2 inches thick and just two back-to-back panels sitting on what looks to be a 16-inch wide base, if it's two
Yeah.
bricks wide, I think it looks silly. You know, so I think if the base is 16 and the box on top is like a foot thick, you know, I think maybe we should define what we think the thickness should be for the box sitting on top, Bob, to your point. But
Okay,
you know,
yeah.
if it's too skinny, I think it's gonna look funny.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So looking at it now, that's a little too thick, but you don't want to go too thin. So somewhere in between, maybe.
Well, you don't want to be cutting the bricks. That would,
No, I mean, we'll leave the brick base. The brick space would stay the same. We would just, I do think it looks a little thick. We could thin that out just a little bit, but not a lot. And then what I'll do is I'll get that done ASAP, and I can get that back to the administrator and adding the blue all the way around and put a dimension on there on the width. And
Sure.
so you guys can look at that, you know, have that in your hands before you write up your final write-up.
That'd be great.
Yeah, because.
the only thing I'd caution you is we're in New England and you're gonna want to somehow get some water to drain off that sign over that brick lip. I don't know how you do it because you don't want to put a bed of mortar on there, but think about it.
Okay, all right, that's a good idea. Yes, sir, to take the water away from it and snow and stuff.
Well, it'll be ice by the time you get to it.
Yeah, okay. All right, yeah, we'll take that into consideration.
Well, the same thing will be true at the top of the sign. If the sign is 8 inches thick, there's, you know, snow is going to just sit on top of the sign, you know? So, but again, if it's a weather resistant material, fine, but it might need, you know, a PVC top or something like that. I don't know.
I think the material, you know, they've come a long way on these signs now. They last for many years, you know, outside and all
Okay.
types of weather, so.
Okay.
Abe, I think the signs will outlive.
You broke up, Sheldon.
Yeah, what'd you say?
I think the signs will outlive all of us.
All of us, yeah.
One quick question from me is, since there are two signs, there will not be a seam that you'll see on the side. Is that correct?
There may be a very slight seam, but it won't be, it'll be very, I mean, it won't be noticeable or anything. It's not going to be a reveal or, you know, any type of deep seam or anything like that. But there, you know, there could be a butt joint, and I could be mistaken. I'll check that out tomorrow when I talk to our engineer. And because again, I'm not an engineer, I don't draw these things up. I've been doing it 35 years, but they may make this out of one piece. But I know in the past, years ago, I've seen them two separate panels, you know, that they put together. But it could be made out of one piece of wood. I don't know. I'll find out for you though.
Thank you. I think that would be better if it was one panel.
If it is two, we might be able to laminate a solid sheet on each end, you know.
Right. Certainly if we're trying to get that, you know, a thickness of like, you know, 8 inches or something, it's not just two panels back to back. It's kind of 4 panels creating a box.
Yeah.
Either go to the Pacific Northwest and they're gonna slab a big hunk of redwood,
Wow.
carve it up and ship it out.
Yeah.
Cost more than the building.
Chase has got some money, so I'm sure they'll be happy to pay for it if they can get this sign approved. All right, gentlemen, is there anything else we can answer or?
I'm good. From a design standpoint, I think with my viewpoint, the things we talked about, I'm good. And I think between that and the wall sign, I mean, I'd rather see just the wall sign, but I don't think this is a bad addition as well, so.
Yeah.
I'm good.
So am I.
All right, well, I appreciate your time and look forward to hearing your comments, and I'll get this cleaned up a little bit and revised based on our conversation tonight. And I'll send it over to the administrator so she can distribute it out to you guys for one final review.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hi, Hernan.
Yeah, Hernan.
All right, are we planning on making a motion this evening, or are you planning on waiting for revisions?
I mean, I think we could make a motion with, you know, with a stipulation on the width and the blue band, you know, raised blue band growing around the two ends. I think that's the only two things we changed, right?
And the one panel versus two.
Solid, if possible, solid end panels.
Yeah, I think if they want to put an end cap like they talked about, that probably would be okay, right? Or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it should
Although-
look like one solid volume personally.
Yep.
Okay. We'll make that
Did
change.
we want to specify the width of the brick wall? We talked about 16 inches, but it's not really dimensioned.
I think that makes sense, Tim. It would be 2 bricks, and that's more or less what they've drawn. You know, somewhere 2 bricks worth.
But again, the graphics drew this up, but I can have my engineer add some dimensions on there for you, hard dimensions.
Yeah, my gut is if we put a 12-inch wall, you put an 8-inch sign on it. If it's a 16-inch wall, you put a 12-inch sign on it, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll
But
get.
if you want to talk to your guy and make a recommendation, and then we can just, then Catherine, maybe we just do the motion via email once Bob sends the drawing back.
Okay.
Make sense?
I'm good.
All right, we're going to drop off, and I appreciate your time, and have a good evening.
Thanks, Bob. You do the same.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming to Farmington.
Yes, sir.
Travel's quick these days.
I can't figure out how to get out of here now.
I can kick you out if you want, but I wouldn't do that.
I'm lost in Farmington. I've been lost in worse places, I think. I don't know. I'm just going to close my lid. Y'all have a nice night.
Thanks. You too.
Good night.
So Catherine, who else? Do we have somebody else?
Yes, the next applicant we have is Tracy Walton. He's going to be presenting a submission for 118 Plainville. Tracy, are you still with us? I just remember to unmute yourself.
I am. Yes, I'm still here.
Great, thank you. So you may now present your application to the committee and share what you're looking to do.
Okay, hello, everyone. I feel a little underprepared after the national spokesman for Chase Bank presented his sign. But I'm here representing my wife's salon. We were in Farmington for, I believe it's been 13 years now, on Route 4. And we're moving the salon to the Plainville Road location. And we have basically the sign that's out front, which we've presented. This is my first sign presentation, so I'm not exactly sure what I'm supposed to do, but that is the sign. And I think when we presented the talking to my sign guy, he said all the, the measurements are there, the square footage is right, how it's going to be attached. So, yeah, if you have any questions, I'm not sure. I didn't know there was kind of so much of a formal presentation.
So is it hung off the wall of the building? It's kind of hard to see in the,
Yes,
Catherine, maybe you could zoom into the photo? So is the idea to wall mount that off the side of the
Yeah.
building?
yes.
Okay,
Yes, they'll have some custom brackets, he said, that'll have it just come off of the building and be vertical. So it's not flush with the building, it's just coming straight out.
Yeah, it's like
and do you
a,
know if the brackets are decorative or are they just like meant to literally suspend the sign there and not really see the brackets, or?
I could find, I have, after seeing the last guy's presentation, I texted my sign guy. I could have him answer any questions you may have, real quick. Do you want me to just, get that information for you?
Sure. I think it's important because a lot of the signs we've done in Unionville have had decorative brackets. You know, if the design of your sign is is different for some reason, and you're looking to literally just suspend that blade out and not really see the brackets, and it's really taut and tight or something, maybe that's okay. But I think we probably should just know that.
Okay, if they're gonna be decorative. Gotcha.
And if they're decorative, what do they look like? You know, they got scrolls and
Sure.
curls, that's something that's hanging it, or what, what is that? I mean, the sign itself, I think personally, I think it's an attractive, easy to read sign, which is hard to come by these days. People don't understand sign design and actually being able to read a sign, but I think that one's very clean and simple and easy to read, so.
Good, okay. Yeah, that's kind of what we were going for, especially, the location's great, there's a lot of traffic, so. Jeremy, it's Right Way Signs in Torrington, and they've been in business for, it was his dad's business when we were kids, so that's gotta be, going back 40 years now. So I'm just waiting to get the text back from him about that, for a definite answer.
I think the other question.
both of those canopies on the building in the photo, the one in the distance and the one close drawn by the doors, there's brackets and, holding up those canopies and things like that. So just trying to understand how the sign relates to the design of the building itself,
Absolutely. Let me, just gonna call him
And Jack, what were you gonna say?
My other question is how far off the building is it?
While we're waiting, I agree with those comments, but I will say I really like the sign. I think it's great.
Yeah, I do too. I think I can read it without my glasses on an iPad. That's good.
May I ask a question? This is Tim. Is there any, are we all concerned that the signage on this building will be both like sticking out and flat against? Like the Mastro Law sign, as you first come down, is like up on the building, is that correct? And then this will be like the next one over, and this will be sticking out. This is a completely different positioning of a sign than right next to it. I mean, is that something that was just one thing I thought was unusual? And then secondly, is there a color scheme with this building? Are we attempting to try to make all the signage this is black? I don't know what Mastro Law sign is like. I don't know what color that is. You can't really see it here, but I just didn't know. I know in a lot of the buildings that we had in Unionville, we were trying to have a universal for each building. We were trying to get the signs to have at least the similar colors. And I was wondering if that was a concern that anyone had as well.
Well,
And
I
I've
think,
got the same concern about the blade sign versus the sign on the building. I'm nervous that it's going to work as well as it ought to. Since all the other signs are on the building, I think most vehicular traffic will be looking at the building and they may miss this because of its verticality and the way it's hung. I'm all for having the hair salon get as much visibility and signage as possible. I just want to make sure it's the right signage for them. And so I share your concern about this being a totally different type of sign, whether that has the impact that the owners want.
Yeah, and lastly, this particular site, I mean, people aren't really speeding by this building either. There's most of the time, there's a lot of traffic. It's very slow. You're inching by there, which is great for any kind of signage. But you know, I think that the buildings, you know, the cabinets there and the tailor and the law firm there, I mean, their signs, I think, are against the building, but certainly, you know, I think they're readable because people aren't flying by. They're kind of going by slower, and I think they can notice the signs better. It's my thought.
So I have a couple answers for you and a couple things about that. So the Harrington this picture is an older picture. The Harrington Cabinet sign isn't that sign anymore. That was just a picture that.
Yeah,
that
it's a Taylor, right?
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
Taylor now, and the
Right.
Taylor sign is black. The Taylor sign on the front of the building is black. So we kind of went with that and matched that sign.
Oh, nice. Thank you. That's nice to know.
Yeah,
I've driven
yeah,
it by
so
100 times, but I didn't realize it was black.
yeah. So their front sign on the building is black. I did hear from from my sign guy. He's saying it's the brackets are modern. They're clean, overbuilt, straight angle steel gussets. It's perpendicular to the road. He feels that where that spot is, being so close to the road, that being against the building would be harder to read, that it doesn't stick out and you're not seeing it. You know, if it was set back farther, you'd be able to see it against the building. That was his recommendation, that it came off of the, you know, it was perpendicular to the building.
And I kind of see that there's the jog in the building further back. So this facade is actually set back from the street slightly further than the facade. You know, I think that's what we're talking about, this the Mastro Law further up the hill. You know, so it is a recessed facade. And so the blade sign, you know, doesn't really stick out even as far as the building does further up the hill. So
Yeah, that's a good point. It's yeah.
It's kind of tucked in relative to the facade further up the hill. And so that's why I actually, in this case, I understand the discussion, but in this particular case, that's why I personally like the blade sign, because the way the building facade steps in.
Yeah, and I agree. I like the way the blade sign with the step in, but also it sort of harkens back to the day with independent shopkeepers with their own signs that weren't all the same, and gives kind of a more, I think, of a period flair of individuality.
yeah, I think, Tim, what you were talking about, our committee was trying not to do, which was have uniform signs on buildings in Unionville, whereas TPZ was pushing for, and we arm wrestled a lot with those guys, especially like on Rivers Edge Plaza and other places where businesses wanted to come in and put their own colors and do their own things and do individual things, you know, and that building unfortunately got mandated, not by us, but by TPZ to be uniform. So,
I see. So since I switched teams, I need to get with the program, is what you're saying.
Yes.
I can't think that way like I was when I was on the zoning board. I have to think, I got it. That's very helpful, Tim. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Free your mind.
Free your mind, I like that. So, I mean, I'd love to see neon back in Unionville, but that's not gonna happen in my lifetime, but I think that personally, like I said, I think the design, the shape of the sign, the design, I like the perpendicular blade sign. I think it's gonna be more visible than pasted on the face. Obviously, the one that's on the face facing north, when you're going south for the Taylor is very visible because it's perpendicular to the road. So I agree with Mr. Walden. I forgot your first name.
Tracy.
Tracy.
Yes.
I agree with his sign guy about putting a perpendicular sign in this particular location, you know, for visibility. I think it's going to be super visible. So. And I personally like the thought of just on that particular sign, just a really clean bracket. I'm a little worried by the word gusseted because if it's got a big infill corner angle or something, I don't know exactly what that means. But his description of clean, contemporary, you know, if that's what they're trying to project as a business, I think we should let them ride with it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean,
But Tim,
clean
go
and
ahead,
modern
Dave.
is exactly what that sign looks like, right? With the lowercase font and the, you know, it's just, it's, you know, it's got that nice modern flair, but the black and white, you know, really makes it appropriate, I think. So I like the sign a lot.
I think the sign graphics are quite nice. I'm still not convinced that the blade sign vertically is better than one on the building, but I'm always more in favor of a business owner getting signage and trying to keep his business going. So there's no way I would ever not approve something like this. I think it'll ultimately work out very well and certainly hope it does.
We appreciate that. As I said, we've been in town for 13 years now, so she has a nice client base, and we're thinking the move is going to be a good thing for us.
Well, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Anybody
Any
have
other
any comments or
questions,
want to
or-
make a motion or anything?
I would move, we approve it as presented.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye. All against? I don't think that was the right word, but you get the idea. All opposed. There we go.
Opposed.
Let's get it rolling, Tracy.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'd like to go on record and say that even though I don't have the experience of the last guy, I feel like our sign was approved in one shot. So
Yes.
for a first try, we did pretty good. I was a little nervous after hearing that guy's presentation. I mean, he
Well,
had
thank you.
charts. and
thank
scales
you for
and wow.
coming and good luck.
I really appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Now, is there anything I need to do after this, or just wait to hear from? Do I get an
Catherine
email
can
or-
tell you, but essentially you're gonna have to go to TPZ, right?
Yeah, I will follow up with you. Next step is TPZ for their sign approval.
Okay,
One more step.
thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you, and I'll look for your email, Catherine.
Okay, absolutely. We'll be in
Thank
touch.
you. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you. So Catherine, do we have any other business
That is
discussion?
all for our agenda this evening. I appreciate you guys making it on for the Zoom call.
I would love to have a quick conversation with everybody on the board here. I don't know how many of you were at the EDC breakfast at the Farmington Club last week, but Mike Goman, you know, real estate consultant, gave a great presentation and discussion. And one of the items that he brought up was about, you know, the horrible state of retail and office real estate, you know, with COVID and remote work and just the changes in our society related to that. And he mentioned about how towns really need to respond to changes in the way people are living and working. and all of that. And one of the items that he specifically brought up was drive-in, drive-in restaurants, I guess you would say, drive-in anything, right? And the fact that, people just are not comfortable getting out of their cars and going into stores the way they used to. And that he was basically pleading with towns like our town and Simsbury and other towns to kind of reconsider, some of our prohibitions about drive-in businesses. And I'm just kind of curious what people's opinions are of that. We obviously don't want, our town to get, populated with endless fast food restaurants and things like that. But I'm just, I don't know. And I don't know what the process would be is if we thought that we should maybe relax that or relax it in certain parts of the town, near highways, near drive-through areas, closer to town lines. I don't know what the answers are, but I've had several clients ask me, periodically about opportunities for drive-through facilities. And my simple answer is, go to another town. But I wonder what the opinion is of those of us on this committee who have all volunteered because we care about this town and how it develops and appears, what your opinions are about that particular subject. I'd love to just hear.
So Dave, let me respond. I'm looking at a drive-through restaurant in Avon. And the drive-through restaurant was 15-car queue, a lane, 2 menu boards, 1 pickup. That's a lot of real estate to take up. And that's really the challenge for Catherine and the ZBA and the zoning commission itself. Can we somehow rely, if the tenant wants 15 cars as a queue, how do we deal with that? You're not going to deal with it in the middle of Unionville or in the middle of Farmington.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's obviously a site plan discussion as to whether on a particular site, particular queuing, works, whether, we obviously allow them on banks. I think there was previously a fight when CVS was building their new building on Main Street about whether there could be a drive up on that building. And then it, eventually was approved. But again, I'm not trying to sway anybody's opinions either way. I'm just curious what people's thoughts are and whether we should be viewing a drive-in as a horrible thing, or whether we should a little bit think about how we could make it better. I mean, we've had discussions in this committee about apartments and density, and how if we as an architectural review board, purview over higher density developments, we can maybe make the outcome better and make, sort of get in touch with the reality of what's trying to happen, but make the outcome better. And I would think to some degree that the same would be true of a drive up, is that, are there ways to, obviously to put it on the back of the building, put it around the side, hide it with bushes, hide it with burnt, whatever the answers are, as opposed to just saying, no, you can't have one. And we're not an overly pedestrian community. I think obviously Unionville is the best, opportunity we have pedestrian wise. I think it's great. But, over by, my office, certainly on Route 6 and, further down in the Five Corners and places like that, you just kind of wonder, like, why is it such a bad thing,
I think all of those points are well taken, and I'm certainly sympathetic to, potential restaurant owners. But one of the things that is a byproduct of those is garbage and trash going completely out into our community. And if you go along the road on Route 44 or, these other places in Bristol, you know, you'll see that garbage is just thrown everywhere. And I think that was one of the reasons why Farmington over the years has been extremely leery of letting in restaurants like that, because, and even, you know, McDonald's and some of the ones that we have, that's just something that I think that we don't think about until where, you know, our streets are covered with trash and no one picks them up. And then we're looking at, you know, wow, we're just like all these other communities. So I think, you know, I agree with many of the things that you said, and I know there's certain parts of our town which would be more conducive to drive-in restaurants. But I don't know. I struggle very much with that, especially because it's something that we have worked very hard over the years to, you know, to keep our community clean, and, you know, our signage. Light pollution is another thing really important to this town. And, you know, Farmington is unique for a lot of reasons. And I think the fact that we don't have those types of things is one of them. But anyway, that's my thought.
So Tim, let me help you out with some of that. I've probably done 50 restaurants in a couple of counties around here. Generally speaking, the trash comes from the big nationals, the Dunkin' Donuts of the world, the McDonald's. When their ownership is local, it's really much better policed. You just won't see that. So do we need big nationals coming to Farmington? Probably not. But are there local guys who could work with drive-throughs? Yeah, there are. And they do a really good job because they live here. And that makes a big difference.
Yeah, I don't know if you can regulate that. You know, you can't say.
The people that own the
You
Dunkin'
can have
Donuts
a
now live
drive-through
here, I don't think so.
As long as it's your own location, how do you regulate something like that?
I don't see how the owner of a Dunkin' Donuts would be concerned about garbage beyond their property.
He
I don't
wouldn't,
know.
but the owner of a Doro Marketplace, I guarantee you would be concerned because he lives in West Hartford. And
You don't get me wrong. I mean, I think the biggest problem we have in Unionville is Stop and Shop. I mean, I walk my dog by there every day, and, you know, there's plastic bags, which I'm glad they're getting rid of, but, you know, there's all kinds of garbage, and because, you know, these larger stores have, you know, all this takeout already. So,
Sure.
you know, we're already dealing with the problem. So,
But
it's,
you
know,
can't call the owner of Stop and Shop up and yell at him, whereas you can call Dorian.
Yeah,
All
I
these
suppose
guys.
I'm just not sure what Dorian could do. That's all.
Dorian, I know exactly what he'll do. He'll make it happen. He'll clean it
Tell
up.
his
Get five guys out
customers
there.
not to throw garbage out.
Dorian, and in a heartbeat. Absolutely. He's got too
And they
many
would
stores. He's
listen.
too local. He lives in the community. It's his neighborhood. That's the difference. When a guy lives in town, you'll see action.
But as Dave was saying, you can't say only local, you know, they're not gonna
No,
write
you
a zoning
can't.
reg that
You
says
can't,
only
but-
local zoning, or only local ownership could do that.
But a local owner can make a difference when the drive-through from the national ownership wants 14, 15, 20. The local owner can say, I can live with 7 or 6, or whatever you can give me, I can live with. I can make it work.
Yeah, but that's, in my experience, that's only part of the problem of what I can live with queuing, because if you got queuing backing out onto the street, that's a town problem. It ain't an ownership problem. The owner doesn't care if there's, you know, cars out into the street. So it's, you know, that's gonna get regulated. If that were allowed to, I would imagine, and Catherine could tell us, if you're gonna rewrite that part of the zoning regs, you're gonna stipulate a minimum amount of queuing for a certain type of restaurant, I would think, or takeout or whatever it is. But
So
I mean,
I'll-
I think Dave, the way Dave started presenting it, that, you know, are there areas of town? I certainly wouldn't envision either of the two centers, kind of the districts that we have purview in, having drive-through restaurants. Because I think we've all talked about wanting them to be walkable, more walkable, you know, local, enjoyable places to live and work.
We just approved a drive-in bank with queuing in the middle of Farmington Center.
Well, if I could get rid of drive-throughs, period, because I got one across the street from my house that pisses me off every time I go to
No, I
bed.
know.
Tim's talking about, worry about light pollution, the amount of light that comes off their monument sign into my bedroom every day is, I'm about ready to go shoot the lights out of the thing, so.
No,
It's-
don't get me started about that. That's,
I think we don't
Uh,
help you, Tim.
I'd rather see an internally illuminated sign across the street.
I would not have approved that. I'll tell you that much.
I was just gonna comment. I went to the same talk that Dave did, and one of the points that resonates with me is that towns are going to have to be concerned with their grand list 3 to 5 years from now. I forget the exact number of years, but there's going to be a dramatic shift in retail and in office space, and it's going to have a real and meaningful impact on town's income. So I think starting everything moves slowly in Farmington, but starting the kind of the process of talking about, how does Farmington rethink some of the things it's always done and think out of the box are probably some pretty important concepts.
Well, the Catherine, CPD just came in recently on the 5 corners for the Shell I can't remember, they come in for a zone change or just for that lot,
So
or
that's
what they come in
I was gonna
for?
bring up. I wanted you guys to have your conversation. I was curious what you guys were thinking. But yeah, there was an application earlier in July for a drive-through restaurant at a gas station. And the applicant put together a comprehensive package text amendment for allowing drive-throughs in particular areas. Some of the constraints were being on a state road within a mile of I-84 at a signalized intersection, all things that make sense and that were thoughtful constraints to where drive-throughs might be appropriate in Farmington. And the commission grappled with this question and a lot of the things you guys are talking about, because yeah, coming out of the pandemic, it makes sense to have some sort of drive-through option, but are drive-through options what Farmington wants for the future? And when you open up your regulations to allow a text amendment, that you lose the protections and the pickiness that we have in our land use and protections to keep drive-throughs from where we don't want them. So all of a sudden we allow, a local business to open a drive-through somewhere we want. All of a sudden you have another business, another company come in and say, hey, we want to drive through 1.5 miles. Like, why is it a mile? It should be 1.5 miles. That's a little arbitrary, don't you think? And then all of a sudden it trickles out. So TPZ grappled with the concept of once we let it here, it opens it up and we lose a lot of our control about saying no in the future for other spaces. And ultimately this application failed and they did not get the text amendment that would allow them to have a drive-through there. But it was a challenging conversation and they grappled with it for quite a while because there definitely is changing in the tides and the way people are thinking about these things. But when it comes down to it, they felt that this would have the possibility to change the character of the town in a way that they weren't comfortable making that precedent.
But so explain a text amendment to us versus, is that the same thing as changing the zoning regs?
Yep. So the text amendment would modify the regulations that state no drive-throughs.
So to Dave's point, if we were to rethink how that all works and not have somebody else do it, would there be a logical way to do that?
So I think that's the key. I think the key is it needs to come from the town. It needs to come from boards and commissions and the planning office, and that be something that we thoughtfully put forward in a way that positions drive-throughs in a way that makes the town comfortable. So that when people come in and say, oh, but you made this amendment for, CPL, why can't you make an amendment for us? It puts the power back on the town and saying, this is what the town wants and this is what's best for the town. This will help businesses. But having it come from an applicant, a business, it definitely has a different taste to it and it left a different impression, and ultimately
Right.
making them sort of business favoritisms. Because for 5 corners across the street, Rebel Dog doesn't have a drive-through. We're all of a sudden going to put something across the corner and now they're allowed drive-through. It's like, that's hard for a local business who didn't get the same opportunity.
Yeah, because those guys are gonna go, hey, we can get Dunkin' Donuts to move across
Moving
the
now.
street. And then all of a sudden you got nothing on the opposite corner.
So you see how it can trickle really quickly and change the business economics in a local area. And people that were, Starbucks, who's happy working on Farmington Avenue in the village, is now going to move out to one of these locations where they could have a drive-through. Now we have a vacancy in our village. So I don't know. These are some of the planning conversations and things I think about. But if you guys, I like that you guys want to have this conversation too.
Yeah. And again, like your point is coming from the people that are planning the town, not people that are developing the town.
Mhm.
If when, I don't know where we are in the cycle of our plan of development, but obviously, it's probably something, that needs to be discussed as part of the plan of development. And I think you'd probably find the universal answer is like, keep it the way it is. But I'm just curious, as, obviously as an architect, and I think, I don't want to speak for Jack, but I know Sheldon and Tim and myself all have clients that do, restaurants and retail and whatever. And they're looking for drive-through places and Jack's hot dogs would be great if it was drive-through, right?
So does curbside pickup help at all? Does that fill a lot of that? No?
I don't think curbside pickup takes the place of a drive-through. It's helpful, certainly in the last year, it's been very, very helpful. But going forward, I don't know how important it would be to a restaurant owner's business plan.
I would think you would.
5% maybe?
I would think that the drive-through means you drive through and order and pick it up at the same time, the same, thought process. Whereas curbside means ordered ahead and planned ahead, which is different. I think it speaks a couple things that it speaks to what, is subject to this committee. That certainly could help something if, I don't know, Catherine, the text amendment, they were willing to be, part of, go through architectural review or not. That might be helpful. I don't know. I kind of think there might be some areas, but I think you're right. It should come from the town.
Yeah. Well, I'd be happy to share what they sent to us so you guys can see what that application looked like. If you want to continue this conversation and talk about maybe some of the areas or what a text amendment from the town could be, if this is something you guys are really interested in.
I think that would be worth continuing the conversation.
Great. I'll share that with you guys.
And I have a question also, since I'm seeing these premises are subject to a zoning hearing signs up on the mid Farmington, whatever that's called, by Carol's lunch. Are they proceeding, or we haven't seen it?
No, you guys haven't. They are going to inland wetlands on September 22nd is their first meeting with inland wetlands. So they're just getting started.
Are you guys talking midpoint?
We're talking midpoint. So you may have noticed that the planning zoning inland wetland signs for public notice are now along Farmington Avenue. So they have started their notice period, and they'll start the inland wetlands period. They will be coming back to you all prior to TPZ. But based on the timing, that schedule has not been set, but presumably that will be this fall, October, November, maybe December. Probably not that late, but they'll hopefully be in TPZ or moving to TPZ by the end of the year.
Cool.
So.
Has there been any change or thought process or anything?
I haven't seen updated plans for TPZ. The inland wetland plans are predominantly the same.
Okey dokey.
So I'll keep you posted. I will let you know when we have more applications coming through.
Great.